Rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I'm standing up, and we ain't even began yet, and that's because I'm on a couple. Like, I'm not on one, I'm on a few. And so first and foremost, I'm on one because teenagers are freaking annoying, okay? So the kids don't have any school today. They want to go over their friend's house, and because they want to go over their friend's house, they want to ride. You going that way anyways. And so, yes, I am going that way, but I have somewhere to be and something to do, and, like, kids, I want to choke the heck out of all three of them today. And then Anari and I want to get into a verbal because he was feeling emotionally attacked this rising, and I had to tell him about himself. And it's me. Like, one of the things that frustrates us the most about our parents and the things that frustrate us the most about our children is the aspects of them that are us. And so Anari is a mirror freaking image of me, not just aesthetically, but like in personality. We're not backing down. I have a point to make. I'm going to say, like, it's and then when I dropped him off, he was like, Mom, I'm sorry, you were right. You were right. I was wrong. I was annoyed, though. And while I was annoyed, I was in my bag. I was in my feelings. I'm sorry. Wanted to choke him the heck out. And then I got an email, like, I checked my email. And when I checked my email, I was reading this project. So the city, if you do not know, the city of Boston sends out, if you ask for it or if you put yourself on the list, the city of Boston puts out all of these project submissions. Like, this is what's going on in Dorchester. This is what's going on in Roxbury. Like, these are the projects that are taking place. And it was the development review, Dorchester Bay City Public Meeting, Housing and Economic Development. Dorchester Bay virtual public meeting is Wednesday, December 2nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Due to COVID-19, they're doing everything virtually, which it should have been done virtually in the first place, especially given the times that they have these meetings. Typically, they were in the afternoon when people were, like, at work, and there's no way that I can actually leave work to come downtown to City Hall to have a conversation or wherever they may have it in the project, in like a local meeting spot. They would have it anywhere. And so it's open for comments now. What do you think about it? Are you for it? Do you oppose it? We do not engage in this process enough. We, as in Black people, specifically here in Boston, Massachusetts, when projects go up, we don't speak on it. And because there's no opposition, it's like an incumbent. If I run for office and nobody's running against me, guess what? I'm going to get my seat over. Like, I'm going to do me. Nobody's running against me. This is all mine. I could do whatever the F I want. And so when it comes to these projects, this is what, like, I want y'all to see. For those that are, don't mind my nails, y'all. I need to get them done. So this is where the Expo Center is. This is where UMass Boston is, on the other side of UMass Boston. You see the field over here, the highway down here. The field is over there. So this is like when you go to South Boston, Sullivan's the food spot. Oh my God, what is the name of the damn place? Baby Rain be making that noise. I can't believe I just did that. Y'all know what I'm talking about, when Black people couldn't even go swimming because the white people would throw stones at them and hit them upside the head. And this was back in the damn 70s. This wasn't even like, oh, in 1942 and 1922 when nobody was alive. No, my daddy got his, like, had stones thrown at him leaving Fields Corner. My daddy still tells a story about when my daddy, not my granddaddy, not my great-granddaddy, my daddy can tell stories about y'all white folks' parents hitting him with rocks in Fields Corner because Negro's supposed to stay on that side of the track. Can we have a real conversation today? Because I told y'all, like, I'm on a couple. I'm not on one, I'm on a couple. And so this is disrespectful. First and foremost, when you know the history of Boston, when you know the history of South Boston, The real history of South Boston, the niggas can't come swimming over here, South Boston. Oh, y'all are the only ones good enough for some water, South Boston. I took my auntie to South Boston to go to Sullivan's because they have great clam strips. Like, the clam strips are amazing. And I don't even like clam strips. Side note, I washed it last night, and so this is no product, no nothing, just like freestyle. So y'all see me in my natural state today. But I took my auntie to Sullivan's to go get some clam strips, and she was like, "What do you, Tayla? Like, they told me they were gonna rape me. Like, they were gonna kill me next time I came to South Boston." And she, like, at 42 years old, how old was she? I don't know how old she was. Under 50. She was under 50, saying that she was scared to be in South Boston because last time she was in South Boston, they told her that they were going to rape and kill her. My auntie. My daddy's sister. And so when you understand the history of Boston, specifically South Boston, and for them to have put up a $1 billion city on the South End waterfront, like, how you just rename the damn city? The South End waterfront that has absolutely no Negroes living over there. They have one black business, and that black business is a conglomerate of Dominican and Cape Verdean barbers that put their money together so that they could share a damn booth. Like, it's 3 different barbers from Boston, Brockton, and I think the other one's from either Fall River or New Bedford. And they put their money together in order to get this one barbershop, and these MFs have like one chair. Because it's a little tiny space that they have, and so 3 different barbershops have one chair each in this little space, and that's the only black business in the South End waterfront, a.k.a. the new Seaport District. Billions of effing dollars. And you want to know what's crazy? We had as Chica Project, you guys know I worked with Chica Project, Nudis Camargo, like, back in the day, we had an event on, like, I forgot what building it was, but something told me to take a picture. I'm looking for that picture now. Before it was built, when it was just like freaking parking lots. It's an entire Gotham City right now. Like, it's a whole New York situation. And when we have the problem of, and this is the main problem, and the reason why I'm in my bag, like, the reason why I'm so in my feelings is because I'm going to pull up the footage of Marty Walsh telling me that he's going to sit down with state officials and the governor, because those were the people that he needed to have a conversation with in order to change the AMI in Boston. So what is the AMI? So the AMI is the area median income. In the area, what is the median income that these people make? We include Newton. Everyone's like, oh, we also include Brookline. Well, Brookline technically is Boston, so I'm not that opposed to it being considered, even though Brookline is filled with millionaires. Like, there's some of the millionaires of the world have houses in Brookline. And for those who don't know, Brookline also still has deeded properties that I'm working on finding the deeds that say Brookline, Boston, Massachusetts, no niggas can live here. In Boston, Massachusetts, when they do historic references of redlining, Boston is one of those cities. And South End was where we could not live. South Boston, we couldn't live in South Boston. I take that back. For the South End, we lived in the South End. In those brick buildings that look like the Cosbys, that was all us. We sold it. We gave it away. Those were being sold for $5, $100. Those multi-million-dollar properties right now, we own the whole freaking brownstone, and we sold off the brownstone for $100. They sold off the condominiums of the brownstone and making, what is it, 700, 500, close to damn near $3 million off a building that your grandparents sold for $100, because we don't never, ever, like, love what we have. We always want what Whitey wants. And Whitey's on the moon. I'm hungry as hell, but Whitey's on the moon. Like, okay, I digress. And so South Boston has this racist history, and we perpetuated that because if we change the AMI, right now the AMI, area median income for Boston, I believe it's $109,000, but let me be correct, AMI, Boston, Massachusetts. This is something federally. They redline. It's another form of freaking redlining. I'm still reading The Color of Law. I got further into the chapters, and as I continue to read, I see if you do not know your history, you are doomed to repeat it, because the history of it is we had policies in place that purposely kept blacks from home ownership. Purposely, niggas, you ain't I'm all the way in my bag today. You are not going to be able to live. And if you buy this home because the federal government told me I have to sell it to you, well, then guess what? You're going to pay a 20% premium than these white folks have to pay, which is still today problematic. What is the AMI in Boston? The standard used for determining income eligibility is called the area median income. For example, the income limit for a CDBG funded program for a family of four living in Boston is $96,200. And what AMI is that? At what level? The income limit for a family of four at what level, though? Because they do, here we go. They do an 80%, they do a 90%. So these are the HUD income rent limits for October 2020. 80% is $66,000. Now, this is where it gets tricky. The BPDA inclusionary development price limits are at 80%, $135,600 for a family of one. For a family of two, $150,000. So at 100% AMI, at 100% of the area income, median income for one person is $183,000. Why is this important? This is important because if the area median income is $183,000 in the city of Boston, and if I'm saying that this unit can be sold at 50% of AMI, what is 50% of $183,000? $90,000. So at $90,000 a year, you have to, like, this is what you can afford. You know, 50%, you can't make up to this amount as one person. Now, who is making $90,000 for one person in a unit that is 50% AMI or 80% AMI or 100% AMI? Like, who is making $204,000 for a family of three? So if I'm selling this thing at $183,000, 100% of AMI, versus if we redraw the map to no longer include Newton, we lose. I forgot who did the numbers for me. Was it Carolyn Crockett? I forgot who did the numbers for me. I'm going to figure it out. But the numbers drastically are altered when you take Newton out of the equation, and then it properly reflects, like, instead of being the $135,000, it's more of like $86,000. And at $86,000, 100% AMI, what is half of 86? 43. So that $43,000 now makes it more affordable because you can now afford this. We have made this affordable for people who fall in this bracket that make X amount of money up to $43,000 a year. You feel me? So you're getting a completely different demographic if you're selling a property or if you're renting a property at 50% of a $90,000 AMI versus if you're doing a 50% of a $183,000 AMI. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Am I explaining myself correctly? Because you know I'm really bad with words sometimes. So I want you to understand, like, the mayor told me that he was going to have a conversation with state representatives, with the governor, and to figure out whether or not, how do we, because this is redlining 2020. If you take a look at how it breaks down and how it economically disenfranchises people from home ownership as far as the condos are concerned, disenfranchises people from renting. This one map either makes or breaks my ability to live in here, then yes, it is economic disenfranchisement on a federal level, because it's a federal, like, it's zoned, it's mapped out federally. Show me how this is different from redlining. Show me. Help me understand how this is any different. Slavery ended, but if you're thrown in jail, you are then a slave. Redlining is different. But if you don't make X amount of dollars, you don't fall into this affordable partnership. Like, it's redlining by another name. And I'm so annoyed because nobody sees this. Elected officials don't, your eyeballs, you don't see this. And then you learn that your elected officials are married to contractors. Your elected officials got husbands, brothers, and cousins that have built the seaport. Yo, don't believe a word that come out of my mouth. Go do your due diligence, baby. Go do your due diligence. Nepotism is real. And if you don't have no black folks in positions of power, how black folks gonna give power to other black folks if they're not in a position to give nobody nothing? But nepotism is real, because the mayor was once upon a time a union boy, and look at who's thriving right now. Look at who's winning right now. Don't nobody want to call a spade a spade? We gonna sit here and pretend like it's not happening? We gonna pretend like this isn't real life? It's 1 million, what is it? 1 million square feet. Dorchester Bay City. Dorchester Bay City. That's what we naming it? Where the Bayside Expo is? 1,461,612 square feet. 5,900,000 square foot of building. Like, the way you build up, the way you build across, the way you build down. 5,900,000 square feet of real estate that we gonna sell to all of these immigrants coming in, multimillionaires coming in, all these tech startups coming in, all their employees coming in. Yo, I want you to do your due diligence and tell me the last time the city of Boston built a 4-bedroom house. 4 bedrooms. All you need is 3 kids. You don't even have to be like some of these Muslim families that have 8 and 12 kids. Yo, for real? For real? You thinking you looking at the mother, the daddy, the sister, the brothers, and the cousins and the aunties. No, you looking at mom, big son, big daughter, middle son. You looking at being pregnant every single year for the last 12 years. Mad families out here that got 6, 7, 8 kids. Tell me the last time Boston built a 5-bedroom. That ish ain't never happened. That ain't never happened. I know the truth. I know it wasn't built for us. You right. Good rising, Bria. I am so proud of you. Bria's going to be one of our guests very, very, very soon. Love your menses. We were taught to hate our menstrual cycles and to be confused and to be scared. Nah, bitch, I bleed. I bleed every full moon. That's how in sync I am with the universe. Every full moon, I'm letting it go. The truth was going on. Good rising. F South Boston. I'm on that wave too. It's actually crazy. I'm there right now, only picking up a client. I do a transportation as a job. Good rising, Daryl. How you doing? Facts. These ain't number facts. No, Daryl. It's happy. We is not talking about Christopher Columbus came and killed the pilgrims. Absolutely not. And I will not be here tomorrow. I'm not celebrating nothing. You know what I'm celebrating? The fact that I am alive and that these ancestors died. And if I could, I would go to Plymouth and do the day of mourning. I was going to say the Day of Atonement. The day of mourning. because I am here because somebody invaded this land. And so I acknowledge that, and it's not happy. Like, today is like, tomorrow's happy smallpox. That's what you might as well say. Happy smallpox. Happy European disease that killed off all freaking natives because they nasty and they let their dogs lick them in the mouth. America wasn't built for us. It was built for them. Exactly. And it's time to burn it down. Burn it down. What's going on, Alicia? Good rising. They blind to the fact, Public Enemy. VOG, you'd be upset if you looked at the contacts and logs for the big dig. No, I wouldn't be mad. Because even though I was young, I was in the know. I knew who was getting billions upon billions of tax-paying dollars. Taxpayers. I don't care how much money you make. You still get a percentage of your check taken out. I don't care if you make $40,000 a year. You still get taxes taken out. I don't care if you make $4 million. You still have your taxes taken out. And the big dig and all of this public works and Feeney Brothers, I want to know who's sleeping with Feeney Brothers. I want to know Feeney Brothers won't hire a brother. Who is sleeping with Feeney Brothers that they got every state and city contract in Boston? Somebody inbox me. Who knows who at Feeney Brothers that get all these contracts that I ain't never seen no bid for? You don't think there's black electricians that can do this? You don't think black construction workers could do this? Like, you don't think there's black people that can do this work? Bleed unapologetically every full moon, baby. It's almost like there's nowhere to go. They're trying to push people west. It's sad. It's not sad. It is what it is. And the thing is we do not do what we need to do in order to take back what's ours. Like, and I mean that. Like, take that back. Take it all the way back. How? By, I remember I was in my feelings one day, and I went all the way, and I think for 2 hours straight, I canceled an interview that day because I was really in my feelings that there was a meeting that just took place about Roxbury and nobody knew about it. And they were making like real decisions about Roxbury. I think it was like about the library, and they were making decisions about the library and nobody knew about it. And the decision was finalized. Like, what they decided to do was completely finalized, and they kept it moving. And I was effing mad. Like, how did this happen? And so the next meeting that took place, we shut it down. Like, I was like, tell somebody that tonight we got to show up and show out. We shut it the F down. Like, the doors were locked. There were people outside. I forgot what project it was, but it got shut down. They had to shut it down, reconvene. Is when they were building the projects. And they still did it. They still did. We shut down one. We shut down one meeting, and they still did what they wanted to do because they were talking about rebuilding the field and redoing. My brain is not working today. But when Michelle Wu said, okay, Tayla, so it's the mayor. It's the mayor. He's the reason why, Tayla. The black guy who was supposed to eventually head up the unions years ago was set up and sent to jail. And when he comes out, his best friend was head of the union and he can't get a job. Send me his name. Let's talk about it. We are going to have to transition this conversation because in the same vein, I would like to introduce to you Celia J Blue, who is part of the Mass Women of Color Coalition. And when I tell you, so we interviewed the cohort of women, I want to say maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, and we were having the conversations about how they were having this coalition conversation about policy, and not just a meeting about meetings, but how are we going to alter policy so that it's equitable and so that it's just and so that it's fair. And so they're having a conference coming up where we can continue conversations on policy with the amazing Ayanna Presley. We'll see if we can have her on to talk about this and why it's important for women to come and engage themselves in policy-driven conversations, because we can sit here and itch and complain all day long, but until we actually alter the policies in place, for instance, that AMI that includes Newton is a policy that needs to be changed. It's redlining by another name, and in order for us to alter that, we have to alter the policy behind it, because the mayor said that he was going to have a conversation. That conversation was never had, and so we have to do what we have to do in order to do the change that he failed to complete himself. And so without any further ado, Celia, I'm sorry for bringing you into that part of the conversation.
That's okay. No,
It
it's
to do with you, but it is like, it kind of is in the same vein. Like,
yeah.
we can't just be mad and upset about these
Right.
things that are taking place and do nothing about it, but hit them where it hurts, and that's policy-driven conversations that alter our trajectory by changing the things that hold us back the most.
Right. We can no longer accept the status quo. Really.
Thank you for putting all my feelings into one sentence. For those who are checking in, please let them know who you are, what you're doing in the event that is coming up with Ayanna Presley.
So is my colleague Lori Nasaya Jefferson on? Has she joined us yet? She's leading.
No,
Okay. And she is leading that effort. I actually have not been as close to the planning and the details of that event. I think she sent a flyer earlier on. I know I'm on a panel somewhere. I'm not even sure which panel I'm on yet. But that is a New England conference, women's conference that UMass is leading. And I think it's over a series of a few days. I don't have the flyer in front of me. I know it's coming up next week, I believe. I don't know if you can pull that up.
I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
So it's the 4th biannual New England Women's Policy Conference, and the time is now. Gender, justice, anti-racism, and systematic change. Keynote speaker is Ayanna Presley on December 3rd. It starts on December 2nd at 9 a.m. and the event ends on December 4th at 12 p.m. And so it's a conference just like you would go to a conference when we used to convene in person, but instead it's online. You can register now. General admission is anywhere between $15 and $50, and I guess that would give you some type of access to, like, you know, rub shoulders or be a part of a membership. I'm just assuming. We'll wait. I'm just telling y'all what you're not going to get because I'm not part of this.
Right.
The New England Women's Policy Initiative, the NEWPI, is a long-term, nonpartisan effort to advance economic security, health, and well-being of women and their families. The NEWPI is spearheaded by the Center for Women in Politics and Public Policy and co-convened by regional partners including women's commissions, women's funds, and nonprofit organizations serving women, particularly women of color, in 6 New England states. And so I am excited for this conversation. We have the warm remarks of Lauren Jefferson, the director for Center for Women in Politics and Policy. They have the opening plenarian, Women Leading Change, Perspectives and Policy, breakout sessions that include child care and education, which is not a new conversation for us. We've been deep in this conversation for a while. And just really talking about the urgency, health and healthcare, amplifying young women's voices to champion policy change, and so much more. The LGBTQ community and conversations regarding low wages and essential workers. Like, there is a lot. Path to political power, movement, politics. There's a lot.
There is. And so there's a few things. So just stemming off of, I'm echoing. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay, great. So it's just stemming on as we agreed, Tayla, as to come back and just talk to you a little bit about the conference that we had in September that UMass and the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition were the co-sponsors of, and we had 6 strategic partners, and that was standing in our power, women of color lead and change. And one of the first conferences around that, virtual conferences. And, I wanted to come back and reconnect with you. We had such great conversations before. And, this is one of the first times that we were doing this. And so I wanted to kind of share some of the sort of main themes that came out of that. And we're going to continue the conversation. Part of that evolution of that is the New England conference that Lori is leading. We also have, and I neglected to send you this flyer, I will do that after later on today. We also have another, a leadership women of color symposium on December 5th. And the title of that is She is Powerful. And Maywalk, Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, is one of the strategic partners. That one is being led by the Mass Pipeline for Change, which focuses on really putting women into, especially, I think, women of color in elected positions. There are other partners. There's a Haitian community organization involved with that, mainly around the southeastern part of the state. And we also have the League of Women Voters is also involved in that one. So I'll send you the information on that. So what we want to do is continue this conversation. And then the first part, I think, of next year is getting together around the next steps. But leading out of kind of coming back to you to do a report out of what came out of our first conference, which was on September 23rd. Let me just pull up a slide here and I can read you a couple of things that really came out. So the main themes that came out are continue focus on voting rights, easier access to vote, education, especially civic education, started in high school. There was a legislation that was passed, by the way, and has not been fully implemented across the Commonwealth. And I think Boston has started to incorporate, DESE is, I think, just finished a curriculum about that. So we need to really actually get involved in that and see what that's really about. Civic engagement, really understanding the many ways to be involved and how to be involved, similar to what you were just talking about, Tayla, and was it Newton that you were saying that you were just talking about? Leadership development is another main theme that came out, and the need to create the pipeline. Leadership support, working in more collaboration in safe spaces. Legislation pending, and some legislation that's pending, some that that's being implemented, which is like the one I just talked about, the civic leadership one, and new ones. And then we identified legislation that was currently pending that's important. An act relative to voting option in response to COVID-19, that is, we were part of the coalition, Tayla, that passed that bill that allowed us all to vote by mail by expanding that. And so you could vote by mail in the primary. In fact, I didn't go to a poll this year. I voted in the primary by mail and also the election by mail. That actually expires in December. We should not be going backwards and really should be looking to put forth new legislation for that to be more of a permanent and that to be a norm. And then an act to ensure gender parity and racial and ethnic diversity on public boards and commissions. We're also pushing that legislation right now. It's currently in the House in Ways and Means. And the reason why that's important is because we're asking for legislation, not only for gender parity, but around diversity, ethnic diversity, and we're putting specific language in for women of color. We feel that's incredibly important because what we've learned is that when we merely put women, Black and brown women are still left out. And so we want to change that dynamic. And so this legislation will be important to pass. It'll probably be the second in the country. So talk about putting your money where your mouth is and really pushing to try to get these changes. That is something that we're actively working on. An act to reform police standards and shift resources to build a more equitable, fair, and just Commonwealth that values Black lives and communities. That bill is that whole policing and criminal justice bill that's currently in a conference committee right now. You haven't even heard boo about that. So that's something else I think that should be on people's minds. And then same day voter registration bill that did not pass. New Hampshire actually has a same-day registration bill. Are you kidding me? Massachusetts, we don't. So we want to revisit that.
Can you talk more about that? What does that mean?
Same-day voter registration means that you can register the same day you go to a poll to be able to vote.
And so why has there been so much opposition about same-day
Uh,
voter registration?
That's a good point. This is why we want to go revisit it. That came out of the conference. We want to go revisit it. I think some of the barrier is around the cost, right? The cost to be able to do that, and because you have to set up the infrastructure, the technology infrastructure to be able to do that. And anytime you mention technology infrastructure,
yeah, that doesn't make sense. No, because you can register on your phone. So what infrastructure really?
Right, but you have to have the
Right.
infrastructure to collect all that data and to make sure that it's done in a secure way. So right now, to do that, there's cost to it. I'm not arguing against it. You asked a question. I'm just sharing some of what I've heard.
I understand.
But what we're saying is we need to go back and revisit that. That came out of the conference. And then the last thing is about implementing the Restoring Civic Education Bill, what I mentioned before. The curriculum framework was just recently developed. I believe this bill was probably passed about 5 or 6 years ago, which a lot of folks do not realize. And we want to go back and look at it to see what the framework is that DESE came out with, and does it really reflect the true history of the U.S.? Because we know that in our history books, a lot of that information is left out. So that I just wanted to share with you again. I wanted to come back, as we said, let's talk about what came out of the conference. And these are concrete things that came out of the conference that we're going to be working on.
And that's what the up and coming conference.
That's with the Standing in Your Power conference that we had on December 23rd. I'm sorry, on September 23rd, when we came to talk to you last time.
Mm-hmm. And this up and coming event is a continuation of that event?
We're looking at it as that way, a continuation of the multiple conversations that we need to have as women, in particular as women of color. This is something that is put on as that Lori UMass leads, I believe. And again, this year they're leading it. It's the 4th year. So this is a conference that's put on, but we're looking at it as a continuation of these conversations that we're having, but on a broader scale, where it's now, that one is New England based.
I really would. Do you want to send her a text message and see if because I really want to take a deeper dive into that.
Let me just see. 1 second.
No worries. We're going to take a quick break. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Like, these conversations are super important because there's no reason for me to get mad if it's not a follow-up on action. And so we can talk all day. What is the woman of color? That's a trick language. Elevation, Allah. Let's talk about that more when we come back. I was going to give you the number to call in, 617-459-0041. If you want to call, if you want to talk. If not, that's perfectly fine. We are going to continue to talk about the importance of why we need to be more civically engaged and alter policy, or be actually at the table when policy is being made. Because when you take a look at any time something is being signed, it's a white man signing it with white men behind him, or maybe like a white woman standing next to him. But aside from that, we are never represented, and it's time for that to end. And how does that end? By getting in front of the issue.
The People Station. What is that? Spark FM.
Want to give your daughters a fun way to play in a diverse and multicultural way? Fusion dolls were created to empower all girls to love their looks. Many Black and brown girls don't have dolls that they're able to culturally or visually relate to. So Fusion Dolls created an experience where our kids can see themselves represented in an exciting and beautiful way. From now to December 25th, if you use the code SPARKFM at checkout, you'll get 20% off the purchase price. Each doll comes with one outfit. Other outfits sold separately. Help us promote self-love by purchasing one of these beautiful multicultural dolls today. Go to www.fusiondolls.com for more information.
Things may seem a little bit different now, but your health remains a priority. With the Massachusetts Health Connector, you can stay happy and healthy. Whether you're employed or have recently lost your job, you have options to stay insured. Visit mahealthconnector.org to compare health insurance plans and choose the one that's right for you and your family. Open enrollment ends on January 23rd. Visit mahealthconnector.org or call 1-877-MA-ENROLL. That's 1-877-MA-ENROLL.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
You are now listening to Spark FM.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up our third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. All that means is we talk about things that nobody else wants to talk about so we can have a better understanding of life and be able to change the way we think, act, and feel about certain situations so we can be the change that we really desire for the rest of the world to be. Right now, we are live with Mass Women of Color Coalition with Celia J Blue. Are we okay? Is she coming?
She's running into a couple of technical issues. I was actually just typing you for the phone number for her to call instead, so she could call in perhaps.
Yep.
What's that?
That works for us.
All right. What's the number?
617-459-0041.
Perfect. I will text it to her right now.
Shooter X176. I know you did not say happy Pilgrims Kill the Indians. That's what we are not doing. It's Happy Day of Mourning. We are mourning those that have lost their lives because others came to this country and decided to take what was not theirs. So I am mourning. I'm not happy smallpox day. Is that what we're saying? No. And that's been forever, like forever. Same thing with Anari. Anari got in trouble in school at one time because he was just like, I don't want to color the paper because the Indians aren't friends with the Pilgrims. Okay, Papa, you don't have to color it. Celia, do you want to talk about the Mass Women of Color Coalition?
Absolutely.
Yes, please. Tell us, how do we get involved?
Okay. So you can get involved by becoming a member or attending some of our events. We have an event coming up on December 5th called She's Powerful. If you go to our Facebook page, you can go to maywalk.com and linked on our Facebook page from our website. And register to be a part of that event. And we also have another event coming up on December 9th that we are, I think it's called Supporting and Becoming Our Sisters' Keepers, which is really around us dealing with this COVID and all of the inequities that our communities of color that are facing. And that event is December 9th. So if you go on our Facebook page, you could see all of the things we're working on. Oh, here's Lori right now. This is the beauty of live. One moment. She's almost there. She's joining in less than a minute. And so that's a way of being involved. We also have a membership drive going on right now for you could sign up on our Facebook page if you're a woman of color and would like to be involved. There's a way that you can join. Membership is free. And we have our annual meeting coming up in January, which is our statewide annual meeting. We do a report out as to what we've done for the year. And you also help with our planning going forward for the year. We always use this as an opportunity to connect with our members because it's not really a top down. It has to be a balanced approach about sort of where the organization is going, and also get an input on how do we do these things and how do we get there, and what are the things that you want to work on to help us make these transformative changes that we're trying to do. So several ways you can get involved, and hopefully you'll check us out at Mawocc, MAWOCC.com. And that's our website, and our Facebook page. You can link onto our Facebook page from there and see all the activities that are happening. We hope that you become a member, a member of sisterhood and a space for us, which I think is still so critically important. And that's always what I hear when I do these events or when I do anything. It's affirmed that we really need that safe space for us and that support. So it'd be great to get you guys, if you're listening, you're interested, great to see you.
Absolutely. What all, as a member, what is, tell us what membership looks like. I joined today. I become a member. It is free, but what are the benefits and how energy is always transferred? So what is the reciprocation of
So membership gives you right now this really broader connection to our sisters across the Commonwealth, which it's just a great way to, build sisterhood in your network. And then, of course, we are specifically focused on women of color and our issues. And we've been pretty unapologetic around the fact that we're focusing on Black and Brown first, because we have the most inequities. And we do believe that by addressing those, or other sisters of color will also benefit from those, and we're lifting up our communities of color, because we always take our communities with us. And so that gives you a way to really work on, we have 5 platforms. We have networking events. We have events coming up around leadership. One of the things that we're going to be focused on as we're doing our annual planning now in January is we're going to have a breakout group stemming from some of those themes I just shared with you. One around leadership, mentorship, and support, and what that could look like, and how do we start building that out to be really authentic to who we are. And you get to be a part of these development, and you get to have a voice in the process. This is why our annual meeting is so important, because we come together, we have different breakout groups that we get your input on, and literally you start working on whatever it is that you really have a passion about. And it's about us, it's for us. So, if you're passionate about, if you're a woman of color and you want to work on things that impact us in our communities of color, this is a great way to get involved and then build your network and support. And I know a lot of folks we're hearing a lot about leadership and mentorship and building that pipeline, and we want to do that, and we're going to do that. So just, some of the perks about, it's so nice. We'll miss not seeing each other in person this year, and look forward to that changing soon, hopefully. But one of the things is, Tayla, is like when you're in a room with just women of color, it's so amazing. It is the energy, the vibe. It's like, I love it. It's just being a part of your sisterhood that is just like authentic, and an apologetic safe space is really what you get with being a member of Mawocc.
And how long have you guys been in existence?
5 years.
Do you guys have the question is about specific agenda. Do you guys have a specific agenda on how to move Black women forward?
Yes, I mean, that has to happen on multiple ways. When we're addressing our inequities, that's part of that change, right? Because the reason why we're not in some of these leadership positions are for a lot of reasons. You need, like you're talking about, policy and legislation. This is why we're pushing that specific legislation on parity on boards and commissions, because we want to be in these seats. We want to make sure that there's a pathway to get in these seats. So we're attacking it on multiple levels. Number one, we're pushing that legislation statewide. Once that passes, and I'm going to say once, and even if it doesn't pass, we still know that these boards and commission, their spaces, and we're going to be working, part of one of our breakout groups as well, is we're going to now be working around strategies on what specific boards we're going to target and get our fellow sisters lined up to be, involved and to apply for those positions. In addition, we're saying get involved in your community. There's multiple ways you can do that. There's wards. There's different levels of engagement at City Hall. There's different committees you can get involved in. So there's, this is what the agenda that we're promoting. And then we want to build out our leadership and mentorship models to help with the support that we need. We're just starting to do that now. In fact, as I was saying to you, one of our breakout groups is going to specifically address that, get a framework on that. We're talking with one of the universities, and we're also partnering with UMass Center for Women in Policy and Public Policy, where there's a lot of, there's a lot of ways you can get involved with, whether it's a certificate program or a graduate program. So we're looking at this in multiple ways in order to make sure that we do advance each other and support each other once we get there. Because that's the other thing. Once we get in these spaces, you need the support and to be able to have a network that you can go to, to really share your experience and to get feedback and coaching and mentoring to carry on. Because it is a lot when you get into these spaces, and especially when you're the only one.
Mm-hmm. What does it mean to be a woman of color, and is it specifically you have to self-identify as Black, or is like anybody, I'm an ally, I'm Irish.
That's different. There is space for allyship, but we are very distinct about that. That's not membership, that's allyship. We're very distinct about being a member, and being a woman of color is how you become a member. We have space for allies and supporters, and we're kind of moving into more this co-conspirator way, because those are really more, I think, radical way of pushing for change. Where there is space for that. We have partnerships right now with other organizations that are in the ally category, and that's fine. We welcome, everyone who wants to help and support our agenda. The difference is that it's not we're signing up to other people's agenda. It's people signing up towards our agenda and helping us to pull change.
Well, I do know that you have to go, and so I want to be respectful of your time. And so I thank you. One more time, please give the website. And
Sure.
We can definitely try. We can try again afterwards. I'll have the team reach out to Ayanna and see if she can come on and speak with us about the importance of policy change and how she's a part of this keynote, and not like what is her keynote going to be, but like what are some of the key points that she will be making in order to discuss how and why women need to be a part of policy, just policy period.
Right. I just texted her I'm just texting Lori. But thank you again for having me. I hope I see you again soon. And I'd love to continue I love this because there's an accountability factor. And so it's a nice way to come back and sort of report to you and your audience on what we're doing, and the progress that we're making or not making, and be honest about those. So thank you again for having me, and I look forward to continuing the dialogue with you and your audience, and I hope you join Maywalk.
Yes. Really quick question. We have one last question. Are transgendered women of color able to join?
There is space. There is space. Yes.
So that is a yes, or that's like allyship space.
Yes, as well. Yep.
I'm confused. I want to be clear. Can a transgendered woman of color join as a member or as an ally?
I think we're open to both. However, what's comfortable for that individual.
So we're going to say yes.
Yes.
Javelin can join as a member.
Correct. Or an ally, whichever is comfortable for her. For him.
Thank you. Javelin, give the website one more time.
Maywalk.com, MAWOCC.com. And our Facebook page is linked to it that you can, with our membership.
Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition, MAWOCC.com. Thank you, Miss Blue. I hope you have an amazing day today.
You too. Thanks for all that you're doing, Tayla. We need you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Come on, Elevation. I'm going to go ahead and play these little money makers real quick. And then you going to come on and talk your ish. Because I saw you talking this whole time, running your mouth. And I know you got something to say. And I don't necessarily agree with everything you're saying. But we're going to talk about it nonetheless. Amen. Amen.
The People Station. What is that? What is that? Spark FM.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I gotta pause it, y'all, because YouTube be playing with me. If I play like all of those little drops, like all that comes up and blocks my video. So I do have to pause it. You gotta do bootleg things when you want to make things work. So it is what it is.
Wow.
I accept it for what it isn't. We currently have Elevation Allah on the line who's gonna over here and talk his ish, but you can't cuss.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So
So
say
what's
it
the
with your
question
chest.
again?
Would you? That was a good question, Javelin. Like I really do appreciate that question, and I'm not a fan of how it was answered because it was like whichever one feels comfortable for you. But I feel like it really was like I have to go back and talk to some of the other senior members, and then whatever they're comfortable with is how we're gonna move forward. And so I would love for you to, move, apply for membership.
Let's try this.
And let me and tell me whether or not you're able to get membership as a transgendered woman. So
I'm not transgender. I'm not.
I
But
no,
the
no,
other
no,
guy
I'm not
said he
talking
was.
about you. I'm talking about Javelin.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't talking about you.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead, Elevation. What you wanted to add?
So check this out. So the words minority, people of color, disadvantaged, disenfranchised, all those words are toxic now. You'll notice that on the federal or the national scene, you don't have too many politicians using that. And one of the reasons why is because the new black media has exposed those words as being trick words. And here's why they're trick words. A lot of times you'll have black women or black people or black men being the front line or being the poster child for something. But if you go and look at for whatever movement it is, but then there's always a nonprofit attached to whatever that movement is, and usually it's white people that's in control of it. White people that form the corporation, form the nonprofit, wrote the grants, and all that. So we're just used as mascots, politically or financially, if you will. So on the national scene, they're using the word racial justice or racial injustice. That's why Ayanna Presley said a couple of days ago that what did she say? She said that student loans is a racial justice issue. And man, the whole post went left after that. She didn't get the response she was looking for because people started thinking like, how is this racial justice? Everybody goes to school, not just black people, So the young lady you were just speaking with, Miss Blue, she's working off an old Democratic playbook. That word is not going to be used anymore. You won't hear Kamala Harris say it.
She's also not a politician, though. She's not a politician. She's just somebody who's part of an organization. So for her to get the Democratic memo, there's no Democratic memo. They're just an organization that's having conversation about how we citizens, black women that are citizens, or black women who identify as women, being citizens, being politically engaged in the policy process. And so she's not a politician. She brings nothing to the table as far as like political advancement or anything is concerned. That's not what she does. And that's why Ayanna Presley is the keynote speaker to talk about the policy aspect of it.
You don't consider her a politician because she's not running for office, right?
I don't consider her a politician because she didn't call me asking me to be on the show. I wanted to know more about women being engaged in policy. And so I called them. So she's not a politician to me trying to push something when I asked them to let people know, let black women know that there's a space for us to be politically involved, even if you ain't a politician.
I like that. That's a good answer. Now,
that's not a good answer. That's the truth.
Okay, but here's why I say it's a good answer. Because politics is the designation of who gets what resources and how much. Her group is dealing with resources. She's already aligned with the Democratic Party. You understand that? I can prove that. If you go to followthemoney.org and type in Celia J Blue, you'll see she's giving about, $2,000 to the Democratic Party? She's in bed with them. You don't hear Republicans talking about women of color and all this. They could give a flying flip. So just to backtrack it, right, is that she's working off the old playbook. The email I'm talking about is
I
a
want you to
legitimate
go
email.
look up Tayla, because Tayla gave about $2,000 to the Democratic Party too. When I was for the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts National Conference, there were a couple black women out there that were running for office that I gave money to in D.C., in Iowa, in different states. And $2,000 really ain't a lot of money if you are consistently giving to. And I'm an Emerge sister. So I went to Emerge to learn, the back dealings of being a politician. And I didn't like it because I felt like Emerge was for white women who wanted to be politicians. And there's no space for black women to be politicians, for y'all to teach us. They were like, you're going to have hardships. They're going to look at you like, you're a woman. We don't trust you. And it's like, no, that I'm going to experience something completely different from Katie. Katie's like, oh, you're a woman. You're going to be emotional. It's like, oh, you're a black woman. You're an angry black bee. It's completely different. So I needed a different space, but I still give to my Emerge sisters, who most of them are on the Democratic ticket. So if you look up my name, I'm part of the Democratic Party. I look bought and sold to you.
Here's the difference. You're not advocating for resources for a certain group, or are you?
All the time. I am advocating for black people all the time. And there are black people who don't even want to self-identify as being black. And so I'm advocating for your ass too, because you ain't got enough common sense. God help the babies and the fools. And so I'm out here helping the fools that can't see that they black. They want to I don't care what you self-identify as. If you and me are in the workplace together, we them two black bees, period. And so if you too stupid to see in front of your face the nose, what my grandma say, if you too dumb to see the nose on your face, listen, the babies and the fools. And if I have to sit here and be proactive for the fools, I'm still fighting for black women who don't necessarily call themselves black. I'm okay with that.
So here we go. So let me clarify something. So do you have a nonprofit organization that's advocating for resources?
I have a fiscal sponsor that is a nonprofit organization that advocates for resources for black people. Yes. Okay. Next Leadership Development Corporation. Yes.
Listen, I'm glad you explained
Chica
it like
Project
that.
with Nudis Camargo, specifically for black and Latina young women who don't have nepotism on their side, that don't have another black or Latina woman to help pull them up and bring them up to the ladder that they trying to get on. So yes, not just one organization, but two, baby. So you can't, for me, I don't know that woman's mind. I can't tell you what she thinks about when she lays in bed at nighttime, but I can tell you there's a lot of organizations out here that look like for instance, C-Plan. Julia Mahia was talking about this yesterday. As a member of the core leadership aspect of C-Plan, we have been solicited by the Walmart. Who's the Walmart Foundation? Walmart. Whoever owns Walmart, they wanted to pay us because we activate parents. So C-Plan is about activating parents and getting parents involved and putting us at the table. So it's not like, oh, I'm a teacher, but I'm also a parent. Now I'm a parent and I'm the parent. And let me tell you how I feel about how this is going as far as the education space is concerned. And so we activate parents. The Walden Corporation.
Right.
The Walden Corporation tried to give us $1 million over X amount of years, and so we were getting like $350,000 a year, 4 years. It ended up to be like $1.2 million, right? And so we needed that money bad, but we didn't take it. So there's a lot of corporations that are out here that are trying to do work. And I can see if you don't have your integrity, and that's what you said, you were like, keep your integrity. That's what pissed me off, because you over here questioning my integrity. That's what it was when you said, let me go back to these comments.
Well, everybody that's in public eye can't be critiqued or criticized. That comes from part of it. So there's nothing wrong with asking questions. But I want to go back to the young lady, because that's what we really start talking about. And when you asked her about does she have anything specific for black people, she said a lot of stuff without talking about tangibles for black people, black women. She wasn't talking about tangibles because if you can't measure or quantify it, what agenda are we talking about?
And And you know what?
It
And you're
sounded nice.
absolutely right. But right now, they are one
Yes, ma'am.
of the only organizations here in the city of Boston or even in New England that specializes in, they're only 5 years old. I don't know if you've ever been a part of the nonprofit sector, but in the first 5
Right.
years, you are literally learning how to get off your knees. The nonprofit sector is no joke. Unless you have a grant writer that's doing what they're supposed to do, unless you have somebody navigating that space and showing you how to like philanthropic work, organizational work is, there's a lot of money in this nonprofit world.
It's very competitive. It's very competitive. I understand that. So
And
let me
not
go
just
back, 'cause I don't think I can-
like it's so politicized. It's crazy. Like
That's why
when
you're
you
a politician.
behind
You have
the
to be a politician to
scenes.
get that. Yes, ma'am.
And if you're not successful, it's because what I've seen in my experience. So I'm not talking about what I read or what I like. Literally in my experience, unless if you're a grassroots organization with mud on your knees, with mud on your elbows, face dirty, and you looking like you don't have your ish together, you most likely are holding true to your values. Where other organizations that are out here thriving, getting big dollars, they have to answer to somebody. Those dollars ain't free. If I'm going to give you this money, you going to give me something in advance, and sometime it be that pum-pum, give it up. And so a lot of these organizations, and so the Women Massachusetts Coalition, 5 years old. 5 years old. And if you really want to talk about COVID, they're 4 years old. So it's a 4-year-old organization that has mud on their knees, don't know what they're doing, and it's a biannual conference that they have. They meet every other year. They're not established. Is she political? You want to? As far as the organization is concerned, I don't like the way they answered.
The transgender part. I saw you getting
Not Javelin. It's not transgendered. Her name is Javelin. I don't like the way they answered Javelin's question. But as soon as the work, I understand the work. I understand like trying to be political, trying to say the right things, I get that, but at the same time I don't, especially when we're still talking about black women. So
see, y'all had two different conversations. I don't think you got that. She wasn't talking about black women. See, we have a lot of people, our sleeper agents in our society, who are just waiting for an opportunity to sell out. That's why they don't criticize Kamala Harris. That's why they don't criticize Stacey Abrams. They don't criticize Ayanna Pressley, because they would do the same thing if they were in their shoes. They're just waiting for their chance. See, that was a good question y'all asked her about, can a transgender woman join? Because if we're talking about black and brown, then everybody. We're not asking about your sexuality. We could care less what you do in the bedroom if you fit these two criteria, black or brown. But what is brown? I didn't hear you challenge her on that. But brown people are usually white people. They identify as white, I should say. We're not talking about genetics. We're talking about social political.
I know, but even if they self-identify,
There's
are
no
they still
but.
not black? They still black.
No. Let's step back there. Hold it. So Trump won Florida because we think those brown people are with us. There's a coalition, but there's no coalition. They identify as white. Why they identify as white? That's a good question. Because a lot of those people come from Cuba. A lot of Cubans, they come from
Hold on. Not just
That's
Cuba.
right.
So if we're going to have a real conversation, let's have a real conversation. Let's bring it back to my Cape Verdean uncle who is darker than me, who was told to, as a Papua New Guinea, when they owned Cape Verde, before 1975, July 5th, 1975 is when we got our independence. Prior to us getting our independence, my mother's generation, my grandparents' generation were all told that Cabo Verde is owned by Papua New Guinea and we identify as white. And so when you go out in these streets, that's how you identify. And so if you were colonized, if your colonizers tell you to come out here and self-identify as this thing, and if you take a look at the census, yes, we have a colorism issue in America. Yes, we have colorism issues in Black America. Yes, but there's also we have to look at history herself and take a look at why we do the things that we do. Not everybody wants to be white. Some people were directed
talk
and
about Cape Verde.
instructed. We can't talk about Cape Verdeans because Cape Verdeans don't even
tell you
consider
why.
themselves black, and they're actual effing Africans.
I'm gonna tell you why it doesn't matter right now, because they don't have enough numbers in Florida to change the vote. They don't have enough numbers anywhere in the United States to change the vote. You agree or disagree? Cape Verdeans. I'm talking about Latinos for a reason. Let me go down this path real quick. So these countries, they have dictatorships, but even before then, the way they deal, because you talk about history, let's go even further back. So the way the Spanish people dealt with slavery and the English was different. If you were Spanish a slave master and you had sex with the woman, now that baby is part of the family. So even though he's still a slave, but the English didn't treat him like that. That's why they're so conflicted in their points of view, or their views, the way they look at history, or the way they look at white people. They think they're part of the family. That's one. Two, the dictatorship part is that they look at the Democrats almost like they're socialists, like they're going to bring back, socialism. They don't want that. But Cape Verdeans don't have enough numbers. I get what you're saying about the colonizing thing, but it's a different type of motivation for the Latinos. They're not just told to be white. They want to be white. They want to be close to daddy as possible. That African history that has no meaning to them, publicly anyway. If you look at their abuela, how dark she is.
Okay.
Yeah, so black and brown people actually, that's kind of a toxic term too. It is a toxic term. And the reason why, that's why I really wanted to go, is because they dilute the issues of black people. I want you to notice something. Any politician you ever will talk to.
So this is where we agree. We agree. Black and brown versus Afro-Latinas. And so that there is where I agree. Black and brown does not mean anything to me. It should be black and Afro-Latinas. That's how it should be identified. Because I don't even think like dark-skinned Indians from India consider themselves black. Like they're like, no, we are Asian.
They consider themselves to be white. Aryan Indian, something like that. But here's the problem with even what you just said, the African and Afro-Latino. It's because when it comes to anything related to black people, we always have to include other people on our struggle. But when it comes to them, they don't say Afro-Latina and African. They don't add us on everything that they do. Nobody else does that but us. It's a psychological. I want you to notice that. That's very toxic. Whenever you say something about specifically black or specifically black people, that's when the conversation shifts to other people. And that's what's used to deny us of resources and deprive us.
And I totally agree, but I don't necessarily think that that's what the Massachusetts Women of Color Coalition is about. And so, though I agree with those sentiments, I do not think that they should be subscribed to the organization that we interviewed today. And so I think there's a larger problem at hand, separate from the organization that we interviewed today. I think that's a conversation that needs more hands on deck to have, because I'm not the only one that should be in that conversation. I want to bring in an Afro-Latina and a Latina that self-identifies as white. And so we can have that open dialogue and a better understanding of why. Javelin, if you're 646, I'm about to call you back right now, because we're coming to the top of the hour. But I do want to hear what you have to say.
Good afternoon.
Javelin,
Yes,
how are you?
I'm doing great. How's it going? What's
I
good?
am well. I am listening.
Yeah, just got to finish working out. There was a question that I wanted to ask about this whole, transgender thing. Yeah, what do you feel about it? How do you feel about a transgender, what do you call it, transgender woman who thinks he is a woman joining an organization like the Coalition for Women of Color. How do you feel about it? I want your opinion.
If I'm going to be 100% transparent,
Yeah.
I have family members that self-identify as transgendered, and it was extremely difficult for me to understand. And I think I still have, like, I'm being honest, and I'm being extremely vulnerable right now. It is hard for me to understand.
Yeah, it's hard for me to understand too.
I have one of my really good friends. When I was 15 years old, I witnessed my friend's father transgender. And this is transgender, I'm 37 years old, so this is well over 20 years ago, where transgendered wasn't even being discussed. They, like, you could say words that you cannot say today because they are derogatory. And
like transvestite, they used to call them transvestites when I was coming up.
And like drag queens and stuff like that. And so it was, there was like a lot. And she ended up, she changed her name to Alexis, and Alexis ended up going to Canada and spent like, he was a CPA. He made really good money. They had no children of their own. They adopted 2 children. Like, they had the funds back in the 80s to adopt, when adoption was...
What was his name before Alexis?
His name was Philip. And so Philip...
Oh, okay. Philip turned to Alexis.
Philip turned to Alexis. And I watched my friend's dad go from a dad to her second mom and wanted to be called mom. And
almost like, what's his name? Bruce Jenner to Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, Caitlyn Jenner. And so it was...
That's a crazy situation.
It for me to actually experience that in my life and in my youth, I got to see, like, how his turned into her mentality and how it ultimately killed her. She killed herself because she was unable. She committed suicide, and my friend was young. Like, she was really young and no longer had like this person in her life to guide her and be for her what she needed, even though, they didn't bring her into this world. They brought her into this life and this lifestyle. And so it still is difficult for me to have family members and to understand. And so can I sympathize? Can I empathize? I can, but it is, and I feel so naked right now because I call myself, progressive, and I'm this thing, and I am accepting, but I also, like, I struggle. Like, this is something that I do struggle with, and at the cost of, like, losing family and not having best relationship with family members that I love dearly and want nothing but a great relationship with. So it's like, I don't take lightly the situation because it affects me directly, and it affects relationships that I really honor. And so I don't have an answer. Like, I do not have an answer because I do not have a stance. It was presented to me like, I was like, but I have questions. And it was like, you don't have the right to have questions. Like, this is somebody else's life that they're living. Your questions matter not. And it's like, I get that, but I still have questions. Like, I want to understand, like, the most difficult thing for me was I'm a woman who wants to become a man, but I want to date a man who was once a woman. And I was just like, why don't you just be this cisgender, the gender that you were born, and be with that person? Like, and then for me,
I'd like to jump in real quick.
Yes.
My opinion of this transgender stuff. By the way, I'm not a transgender. I just said that as a question. I'm a heterosexual straight alpha male from Dorchester. Yeah. So, my opinion on this whole transgender thing is, to me, it's very confusing. And from my point of view, people are who they are. You do what you do. You do what you do. But at the same time, it's like I think a lot of this stuff right now is genetically engineered, and I think it's honestly part of population control. You know, and not to get off the subject, but I want to go in a little bit about transgender and all this other stuff because, you know, I was listening to Tyreek's show on YouTube the other day, and he pointed out the new coloring book by a quote unquote woman of color, Hispanic, non-Afro author of this book, and they're the illustration on the cover has a young black boy, heterosexual young black boy, who is living in these times, and this Black Lives Matter movement, who is a fraud, who I feel is a fraud, explaining to this boy about different types of family lifestyles, women with women and men with men. Hey, listen, you like who you like. You don't have, it's being pushed down in our faces too much. And, they got this transgender caricature in the coloring book. Listen, my thing is like this, yo. I don't have a black son. But if I did, I don't want my black son to know about that type of stuff because I personally want my black son to be heterosexual. And I want him to be an intelligent black male who dominates and thinks with his brain. They're trying to push this stuff into young black boys. And another case study that I've been doing for quite some time is sometimes I'm in the Jewish community and I'll drive around, with my work, as I work, and I observe the Jewish community in Brighton. I see how their houses, their communities, their stores, they're not pushing this LGBT community stuff in their communities, in their lifestyles, in their synagogues, in places of worship. These people go by a specific blueprint that makes them successful. This specific agenda of LGBT and all this crazy nonsense, in my opinion, which I have a right to say, in my opinion, is making black people worse. Again, if I ever had a son, I would tell him, do not be listening to that LGBT transgender crap. Because it's to make us weak. It's population control. It's part of the population control agenda. And Black Lives Matter, this is what they are pushing. And I don't think, and another thing is you were just saying earlier that these organizations, these nonprofits, is making millions of dollars. Black Lives Matter is making millions of dollars. They're making millions of dollars off of the pain and suffering of black men. And also the founders, I forget her name, Alicia Geyser or something like that. Her name is one of the founders. She's a lesbian married to a transgender white female. Basically, she's married to a white woman that wants to be a man. In that coloring book, there's nothing about the alpha black male. These lesbian women, not to be disrespectful, but a lesbian woman is a lesbian woman. I'm a black man. I'm a black man. Had someone said, hey, you're a black man, I'm not going to get offended by it because I am who I am. So these lesbian women clearly do not like black men, heterosexual. It's not in their coloring book. They're taking us out of the nuclear family.
And so one of the things that I would like to say is everybody is entitled to their opinion. And so what you're not going to do is come on here and Tayla is hating anybody. Tayla is allowing people to have their opinion, and their opinion is their opinion. I don't control folks, first and foremost. Second of all, I wouldn't agree I don't agree with you on the fact that you said Black Lives Matter is making black people worse. I do believe that there is a divide and conquer that is taking place, and I do not believe that Black Lives Matter is the end all be all that is being promoted as such. And for me, the problem is there is no agenda. Period. Like, they've been in existence from jump, and there there is no agenda. It's like, it's chaotic, it's huge, it's dope in like the ideology of Black Lives Mattering, but because on paper there is no agenda, there is no game plan, it feels chaotic, and it does not seem helpful at all to the cause or towards the betterment of black people, if that's what you mean by it's making black people worse. But I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I do hear you. I do have to admit that it was really difficult for me to like introduce you, and was just like, hey, Javelin, how are you? And your ass was like, how you doing? I was like, that's really difficult for me to, and it made me feel really, really bad. And I just wanted, like, I need to lighten the mood for a second, please. Give me a minute. I need to lighten the mood and understand, like, I am human and I have flaws and I am not perfect. And there are things that I do not understand, but I need to lighten the mood for 5 seconds of my life.
The People Station. What is that? Spark FM.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TaylaAndre@thumbprintrealty.com.
Toffer van een verstrooide assistent. U bent bij Boomerang en vandaag zullen we het hebben over medische blunders. Wat is er precies gebeurd bij jou, Marijke?
Ik ben opgenomen voor een goedaardig spel. Geloof. Dat.
Excuseer, dames en heren. Dus, je probeert dan terug je toekomst.
Ik begrijp echt niet wat er hier aan het gebeuren is.
Excuseer. Valer, sorry, echt sorry. Excuseer, dames en heren. Dat betekent ook dat je bijvoorbeeld, seksualiteit ook een groot probleem bijvoorbeeld wordt.
Ja, mijn vriend heeft het gewoon gedaan gemaakt. En ik neem hem daar ook niet kwalijk.
Plus het feit, als je met seks omgaat, is het niet alleen het fysieke dat telt, maar ook soms de lieve woordjes. Ja, ik vind dus dat dit echt niet kan worden, bedoel.
Yo, it was so hard for me. It was so hard for me. Yo, I was praying. I was praying that you would like clear your throat and then like have and that's only because when Philip transitioned into Alexis like changed the octave in her voice when she was speaking, but when Alexis got mad and would yell at us for being kids, it was like Philip came out. And so you really you brought me back to my childhood real quick. And I was in a very I feel like I needed to explain why it was difficult for me at that moment in time. Yo, and this dude just kept laughing and hold on.
Het was een complot. Men wou mij gewoon weg. Er waren genoeg indicaties voor. Normaal gezien kan ik mijn programma...
Yo, can you imagine how embarrassing that was? I was like, this cannot be me. This cannot.
Ja, ik voel me dat dit echt niet kan hoor.
This cannot be me. They are not gonna get me for the okie doke.
Ja, dan zwijg ik liever.
Excuseer.
But nobody else in the crowd laughed either, though. That's what made it so bad. I would have been in the crowd. I would have been in the crowd. I'm human. I am so human. I'm so human. They are us. You absolutely. That. Woosah. Hey, yo, we're coming to the top of the hour, and I do want to get in some news really, really quickly. 17 COVID deaths at Illinois' vet nursing home prompts a probe. News outlets reported that Illinois Governor J.B. Prickhart's office and the state's Department of Veteran Affairs are attempting to determine what was the cause of the outbreak at the state-run veterans home. We already know what the problem was. We already know what happened. In this nursing home, it affected nearly 200 of the residents and staff members and killed 27 of the veterans. We know what happens. When it comes to veterans, we don't even do what we're supposed to do as America to make sure that our veterans are good. We don't watch over them. We don't take care of them. We are disregarding of their needs all of the time. They don't get paid how they should get paid. Their health insurance, there's a lot behind veterans that I stand behind. I know I get mad because they get to become police officers when they live in Iowa and come to Boston and, are put in front of black men and women that have been Bostonians their entire life and got a 98, but this 72 veteran from Illinois, from freaking Iowa, from Wisconsin gets to come here and be a police officer. But overall, I love our veterans, and how we treat our veterans as Americans sucks. And we have so much work to do. And so to sit here, and I bet you what's going to come out in this probe is that more than just COVID-19 deaths or 200 residents and staff getting COVID, there's so much lacking in I hope they take a deep dive and see that across the board, we don't do what we're supposed to do ever, because it's always about the bottom line and making sure that that dollar hits the best instead of making sure that we get that dollar while helping other people maintain dignified lives. In other news, Meg Thee Stallion design. Oh, no. Well, yes. And so there's this fashion designer that I follow on Instagram. And so I was looking at this article really for personal reasons, and this designer was talking about how Fashion Nova was stealing her pieces, and so she was custom creating these pieces for individuals that wanted custom pieces, and then she would post them on Instagram, and then it would be like 6 weeks later, all of a sudden it's a new design that's on Fashion Nova. And so Meg Thee Stallion has a whole new line that just came out on Fashion Nova, and people are saying that she stole, and you have to think like for a second, most of the time Fashion Nova, it be the business's idea. We want to collaborate with you. Pick some of these pieces. Which ones do you want a part of your collection? And so it's not necessarily Meg Thee Stallion going out stealing these designers' pieces, but it's Fashion Nova that has been known notoriously for years now to be stealing black women's creations and then recreating it, making a small, if not even no changes at all, and then selling them and making a lot of money off of the original idea of black women. And so, of course, Meg Thee Stallion stopped by told reports that she denies all allegations that she stole anybody's creation, and her collaboration with the Fashion Nova pulled in $1.2 million in its first day. Aziza on Instagram is accusing Megan's team of stealing her work, but Megan denies it. A lot of people say this is not the same designer. This is actually another designer that I do not follow. But I like her work, though. I like her work. And now you have to log in before I can scroll down and see any more. No, thank you. Continue. You have to put a login information. Nope, I got it. And so some of these pieces, and I did look at the Meg Thee Stallion collection yesterday because I was being nosy, and window e-shopping. If you guys know what window e-shopping is, it's like filling that need to go shopping by filling up your basket with everything that you want and then abandoning it and leaving it right where it's at and never going back to press checkout. And so I engage in that often, or at least started to, so I can save monies on the back end. And so with that being said, she denies it, but I don't think it's necessarily Meg Thee Stallion that is stealing it. I think that there are dresses that have ended up on Fashion Nova that were the designs of other Black women, and Meg may have, maybe she was unaware. Maybe her team was unaware, but they definitely, I do want to see them do their due diligence, and I do want to see them, right the wrong. And so I'm looking at, Black designers. And if you look it up, there's an entire hashtag. There's an entire hashtag about Fashion Nova be stealing-ish. And it's different videos and pictures of designers and what they posted on their social media. And then how Fashion Nova has the exact same thing a month later. Why is that important? Who gonna take on Fashion Nova in court? You just gonna lose that money? And everybody gonna say that now you copying Fashion Nova, but you've had this piece in your collection for the last 5 years. Scotland becomes the first country to make tampons and pads absolutely free. All Scotland public facilities and schools must now ensure its period products are free and accessible to all. Scotland became the first country in the world to make access to menstrual products free. Where's Gia at? Where's my boo at? Love your menses. Where you at, boo? And she does, Bria is absolutely amazing. Love your menses. What is the website, Bria? Bleed unapologetically. And so not only does she have an organization for people to bleed unapologetically, but she also, for like new bleeders, like young women who are just now getting their cycle, helping them understand the process of what it means to, come into your womanhood. What YouTube video are you trying to say? Is intellectual property, it's money, it's important. Of course it is. You're absolutely right. But who's going to take who's taking Fashion Nova to court? What they're going to do is you're going to file a petition in whatever claims court you decide to file in, and they're not even going to show up. Their 17 attorneys are going to show up and say, listen, like, there's 1,000,001 designs. This one's different by this right here. And unless you have something that has been patented or has been copywritten, you really don't have a leg to stand on, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to continue to pay until a judge says, you know what, you're absolutely right. And you know what's crazy? While we're having this conversation, One United Bank stole stole identity. Here it go. Here it goes. I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to show you the video. And so this baby right here has had her identity stolen. Like, her as a person has been stolen. Her face has been stolen. Look at this. Y'all can see this? So this is the original picture. So this right here is the original picture. This is the One United version. And so this guy was curated, like Adonis Parker was the one who made was commissioned. He was commissioned to make this design for One United Bank. He When I don't have a face, you speak for me. When I don't have a pen, you're the writer of the mental tablet. Adonis Parker is the one who was commissioned for One United Bank to put together this Mona. Her name is Mona, and this is Mona. But the real woman, and this is Terry, the female, the part owner of One United Bank, Times Square, Terry Williams Cohey. I have tried time and time again to reach out to her and her entire team to have them on air so we can have a real conversation about what it means for Black ownership and why they don't give out any business loans, why they don't give out any personal loans, why they don't give these loans out. And that conversation has never happened. But as far as like intellectual property is concerned, this baby's entire face was stolen, and she has spent over $500,000 trying to fight One United Bank. This is literally her face. Y'all don't see her face was stolen. Nothing was really changed, from the lips to the nose to the freaking hair tie. They made her earrings bigger. But she's in court fighting for her, her real face on a card that One United Bank uses, and it's called the Mona card. And if you want, please go to her change.org and sign that petition. What I typed in was One United Bank stole identity, and then you look in the images version, and once you see that blue Mona, you go on there, you go to the change.org, sign the petition, because they clearly stole her face. Even if it wasn't One United that was aware that Adonis took this woman's picture and made it a caricature, no judge to date has been able to say, forget the fact that you guys have millions of dollars behind you fighting you in court. You guys clearly are violating her intellectual aesthetic property. Give it back. Give her her face back, and pay her for all of the money that you made off the Mona card that she did not see a penny out of, period. So I digress. That's One United Bank. They have given out 13 loans in the last 5 years for home, business, auto, personal. Don't believe me? Go read. And that's even if they let their, what's those things called? Their records. That's even if they let you have access to their records, because that was insider information. I got that from an insider who told me, not because they gave away that information, even though I put out a formal request. Formal request, never got it. Never got it. Oh, what was the heck that I wanted you guys to read today? There it is. Realtors. We've been having this conversation for weeks now. The National Association for Realtors. So if you don't know anything about Tayla Andre, I am a real estate agent. And upon me becoming a real estate agent, I really wasn't understanding gentrification, why it was taking place in Roxbury, all over the city, how some of the streets and neighborhoods that I couldn't even step off the porch had white women walking dogs. And I was just like, yo, can you tell me what's really going on? And no politician could ever tell me until recently. Michelle Wu came out and told us the truth and was just like, hey, yo, the mayor want to build a city. The mayor going to build a city, and he going to do what he want to do regardless of what the city council tell him to do. And so we were talking about how the history of the Realtors Association was only for white people. Like, they had it in their bylaws that realtors could not engage in commingling of races. And so realtors apologized for their role in housing discrimination. The first apology from the group that helped promote segregation. Black home ownership rate is 46%. Oh, yes, God is so good all of the time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Compared with 76% for whites, the real estate industry contributed to a racial it They did not contribute to racial inequality. Let me tell you what they did. They purposely made sure that blacks could not own homes. And if blacks did end up owning homes, they had to pay a 20% premium for owning that home that should have went to a white person. And so they engaged directly in it. And so we're not going to sugarcoat. We're not going to beat around the bush. We're going to tell the damn truth. And that's what it is. And I wish this article would have told the damn truth. But for the first time, the association with 1.4 million members has apologized for its role in fomenting housing discrimination, a legacy that has followed them for forever. But there are so many black realtors that want that R by their name and don't understand the history behind it. And so I am absolutely disgusted with realtors. And you can apologize all day long, but until realtors start putting money back into the hands of the people that they purposely took home ownership and building generational wealth from, your apology means absolutely nothing to me. I need to see action. I don't need excuses. I need results. And so until those results come in the form of dollars, I don't care what their apology says. While that is said, we have come to the top of the hour, and I thank you so much. I love you. I appreciate you. Can you please share? Can you please tell a friend to come through? We are working on Tina Lifford, and that was what that thank you was for. I don't know if you guys watch Queen Sugar, but she's the auntie on Queen Sugar, and I met her a couple years ago, and she has such a beautiful soul, and so I really wanted to discuss with her not just her as an actress, but she's also an author and just an amazing human in general. And so we're working on getting her on air, and we just got a confirmation that that is going to happen. So I am so excited. I am working hard for you so you guys can have the conversations that we need to have, so we can be strength in numbers, so we can learn what we need to learn, so we can make informed decisions and be better people. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with this time of day that we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. Everything Tayla Andre is TaylaAndre. The book that is behind me is called Finally Home, the step-by-step guide for people preparing for first-time home ownership. It is an easy read. It's a simple read. It's exactly what you need. I promise you it's exactly what you need. Finally Home is a must-read step-by-step guide that will equip any first-time home buyer with the knowledge they need to confidently make informed decisions. This book provides answers in simple and clear terms to most, if not all, of the questions you may have about credit, home ownership, and generational wealth. Finally Home equips the reader with the confidence to be engaged with the home buying process without feeling vulnerable or exploited. Tayla Made Real Estate Easy is not just a catchy hashtag. It is real estate agent and radio personality Tayla Andre's goal, a goal to simplify one of the most challenging processes you will go through as an adult. A goal to educate you properly on credit and teach you the strategies to finding the home of your dream. It is not just a good book or an easy read. It is the secret to a seamless home buying experience. The secret to a home buying experience. Make sure you go to TaylaAndre.com to get your seamless to a home buying experience. I am Tayla Andre. Waking Up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up at about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. I thank you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I hope you have an amazing day.
Spark FM.
Stop love how the girl them flex. The act close and make a next girl flex. Me no stop love how you.
Join us on Facebook and Instagram at sparkfmonline.com. Turn us up.
Oh my darling, oh that.
Spark FM.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs?